when I look at life, my life didn't go as planned. And that's great. So the invitation, what I'm inviting the listeners to think about, who knows what is good and what is bad? Sometimes we think this was really good. This turns out to be a not so good decision.
Hey, everybody, welcome to my show. This is Tiffany Alexander, and this is Unveiling Journeys. I'm so excited to have you today. I have a phenomenal guest for you. Can I just tell you 1 second about me? I love hanging out with people. I love hearing their stories. I love being able to share who they are with the audience that gets to hear my podcast. And really, it's the intentional conversations that I have with people. I get to ask them, hey, you're so neat. Can I tell people about you? Or, oh my goodness, how do I get to know more people just like you? And or I'll say like, hey, do you know anybody that needs to know me? And you can just leave it at that. That's how I get to know some cool people. And that's how the world goes round in the world of referrals. So with that, here's what I want to do. I want to introduce you to my guest. She's got a killer story, and I'm excited to share it with you today to share her heart and everything she's working on. All right. Welcome, Claudia. Do me a favor. Tell everybody a little bit about you and what you're up to right now.
So first of all, thank you for having me, Tiffany. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much.
Yes.
So my name is Claudia Beck. I am the founder of Better Together Group, and my mission is to help humanness to increase their consciousness to become better leaders.
There's a lot to unpack with all of that, and they don't even know yet. So tell me a little bit about what your work is right now that you're doing with making people better leaders.
Okay, so I am working with senior leaders, helping them with decision quality awareness, conflict, how they show up as leaders, supporting them to get promoted, supporting them to navigate through the complexity of the corporate world. It's just a fun way to support amazing leaders with amazing stories and be their silent support in the background and just helping them to become more successful.
Ah, that's awesome. And your journey of getting here is really fun. So I know I wanna crack into that. Let's start from the beginning. This show is called Unveiling Journeys. I want to unveil yours, and let's start from like where are you from? And oh gosh, like even as far back as like what do you think you were going to be when you were growing up, or like what you go to school for? Like it's a really loaded question.
So I was born and raised in Austria. Lovely, in a countryside environment with with sisters, parents, cousins. I have 25 real cousins around me, huge family, 100 people at a minimum is with my mom, there were 12 siblings. And out of those 12 siblings, 25 cousins. And so a strong community background. And my dream was always to travel. My dream was always to know what I don't know. When I grew up, I was the one who said, why can't why can't we have French wine instead of Austrian wine? Why can't we have Italian food instead of Austrian food? So I was always looking for multicultural experiences. And this was always super important to me. When I was a little child or when I'm growing up, I thought I will become a therapist. I
Yeah.
actually, yes, I went to study a couple of years at the university in Vienna. And how life happens, I met, in the meantime, my ex-husband in Vienna around the same time. And fell in love and moved to the United States instead.
How about that? Now, did jobs bring out here? Why'd you come out to the States?
So my, in the meantime, ex-husband, so I fell in love. He is American. He used to live in Europe, all over the places. I met him when he moved from Russia to Vienna. and we lived and dated 2 years in Vienna before we made the decision to move to Palo Alto, which is in the Bay Area in
Yeah,
California.
pretty close to me. That's funny to
Hmm.
have you all the way over there to come to Palo Alto. I know there's major career opportunities there. So what'd you settle into there?
In the beginning, it was finding roles where I could use my finance skills because back then I used to work in a bank. I was a commercial loan officer. My English skills were not to brag about, so I was leaning into finance related roles. So I worked for PricewaterhouseCoopers, and from there I moved into retail and actually joined the Gap in 2000 in San Francisco.
Oh, nice. Now joining Gap, you're doing finance for them, right?
Yeah, yeah. I pivoted from, I worked also in banking in Austria. So psychology was always more a hobby for me versus my structured Austrian upbringing, which is more finance related and building structures and building order in midst of chaos. So it helped me also to transition my career from Austria to the United States because numbers are the same across the world. Finance, I moved heavier into finance related roles to use my finance skills to get roles I was interested. And first, as I said before, PricewaterhouseCoopers in Menlo Park, and then joining the Gap, the finance departments. Stayed with Gap for nearly 13 years in different roles in different countries and learned English on the way, got bigger positions where I could communicate with teams and lead teams. And yeah, that was the beginning.
I love that. I think when somebody moves into this journey that you're in, you have to understand you're like gravitated towards being that already, even though you weren't being paid for it. I'm sure that you were making all of the teams that you work with along the way like super structured, and the presence that you brought to them was probably invaluable that they are hindsight like, man, we only had you for 13 years, right?
I think many think also I was a pain in the neck because I am so structured. I was direct and it was fun as well. So it's leading teams, growing on the way, and just experiencing different cultures was an amazing journey. I had the opportunity with Gap to work and live in China, in Shanghai, and to work and live in Tokyo for 18 months each, and which was just an amazing experience.
I love that you can just move anywhere with any language nowadays, and it just works, especially in numbers, right? Like, we all get to the same spreadsheets. That
Yeah.
that's so incredible. Now, only 13 years there, what did you do next?
So 13 years with the Gap, worked in China at the time. Then an old boss, we knew each other from Gap, reached out and said, there is this position open in London. And I was super excited about the company, Burberry. I'm a kind of, oh my God,
Oh, yeah.
Burberry. So moving from Gap to Burberry was just an amazing, exciting step. So I moved to London as VP planning and allocation for Europe, Middle East, and Africa. Fabulous time there, fancy clothes, fashion shows. So it was just a very different style. So from uh, my outfit being $100 at Gap, and then it moved into significantly higher amounts,
I
and
didn't
it
even
was
think about that.
fun.
That's so true.
I loved it.
Oh my goodness. So, being able to go there and taking all of your experience with it, what did you go into when you were there? Like, what did you bring to those teams that you then realized you wanted to go and do on your own?
There was a step in the middle. So at Burberry, we brought a lot of rigor and structure into the company, which I learned at Gap. Gap is an amazing training ground for leaders. They have an amazing HR department, a lot of leadership development. And this rigor we brought into, meaning I say we, the leaders, my team, It takes a village to to create some changes. And we brought this rigor into Burberry, and under the leadership of Angela Endrens back then, she used to be the CEO of Burberry. It was just an amazing journey. She tripled the business under her leadership. She is just an amazing human being to be led by, and learned a ton about uh, fashion, about human connections, about processes, and what's possible and what's not possible in life.
That's incredible. I love that you had great encouragement from your leaders to pour into you, which now you get to do to others with the structure that you had. What happened next?
What happened next? You know, all good things are going to an end. Angela eventually left. Her predecessor, Christopher, took over, left eventually as well. So there was a lot of turnover within Burberry. My leader, who also took off, took big roles in other companies. So the entire leadership team changed when a new CEO came in. So many of us, we were headhunted. So was I. So I was headhunted by a company in New York and moved over to New York. And I thought the Big Apple is my next step. I was offered a senior vice president role within the company Tory Burch, and I took it to heart and moved to New York, and this was my next journey.
Oh, I love that. Now their outfits aren't under $100 either. I think their cute little wallets aren't under $100. I know my little sister went through a Tory Burch phase for a smidge. How
And
fun.
they
How
have
fun.
amazing handbags, amazing flats, amazing shoes. So
Right, their
this was,
shoes.
yeah.
That's so fun.
And
So living in New York, I mean, gosh, it's its own version of its own country kind of a thing. I
yeah,
wasn't meant for the concrete jungle when I lived there. How'd you do there?
I was not made for it either. So this is what I had to learn. New York, I think, is fascinating to visit, to stay a weekend, maybe a week. To live there, I found it really challenging. So I learned I learned the way that the company, I actually learned the hard way that we can only do our best work when we literally feel at peace where we live. And for me, it's nature.
I
For
say, how can you
me,
be from Austria? I think of only fields of rolling gorgeousness to the concrete jungle. That's where I was when I'm from California, and then Florida, and then New York was like, I cannot live in the jungle of concrete. It
mhm.
is terrible. It just something like is missing from your soul when you're there.
I know, and people warned about the humming noise, where there is this constant humming noise in New York, and I completely underestimated it. But it's everywhere. It's through air conditioning. It's when you're on the subway, when you get out of it, when you leave your house. So it's this constant undercurrent.
Right?
Mm,
Everything. There's no getting away, right? Unless you go to New Jersey or something, right?
yeah, it was really hard to get away from that. And long story short, we decided to depart. And I was, what's next?
Yeah. Yeah. That keeps
And that
calling
was a
for you.
turning point for me where, when you join a senior vice president companies, you negotiate your exit before you start. So severance package kicked in. And I made the decision. I said, I want to become a better leader. I want to become a person who is more attuned to their team, to their peers, to their bosses. And quite frankly, there was a lot of opportunity for me to learn. So I wanted to take the time, what I thought time off, to develop myself. So I did the training with CTI, the Coach Training Institute, and became a certified coach.
That's quite a jump. Like your W-2 to go like 1099 to take the leap. It's a hard leap to, I guess, work for yourself because now you have to go find your own clients and network and do all the fun
Hmm.
stuff. But I'm sure you have phenomenal connections of people that would want to step right into how you led all those companies that you could now provide that as a service for them, and not only for them, but for their company too, right?
Right. Yes. So this is where my corporate career came in really, really handy. And my sense of adventure and my courage leaning into that. I remember clearly it says like I was certified as a coach. And I think in the beginning, after I did my coach certification, to be honest, I wanted to go back to the corporate world to better, more improved, just kind of take another role. You know, I was high up in the organization, loved the status, loved, being important, or this is what I thought importance is. And then the pandemic happened,
Oh, that did a number on a bunch of people, right?
right? Retail was shutting down. And I was like, what am I doing? I actually stayed home free for some time, traveled for 1.5 years after I left my role in New York. And then I heard this whisper in my ear, the young lady, it's time to find an apartment to find a place to live. So when because I lived in China, old friends sent me some videos. And you remember COVID started in China. I got those videos. I was like, oh my God, that sounds really bad. And then Italy started. So I thought, where am I? Where do I want to park myself? Where do I want to park myself? So I made the decision, Santa Monica. So I made the bold decision, didn't know a soul here, never lived here. And I wanted to once in my life live close to the beach. Oh, found this amazing apartment. I'm still in it. So in a townhouse. It's, I think you remember the market closed, right?
Yeah.
Mid-March.
Oh, yeah.
Remember that
2020,
when
mid-March.
everything was quiet?
Yep.
And I got my delivery from New York because everything I left in storage in New York, everything got delivered, I believe, 2 days before the country shut down. And I still remember, I was sitting in my home, was actually celebrating, sleeping in my own bed again, celebrating having my own blankets again. And the world were mourning
Mm,
because they lost their freedom. And I was celebrating because I gained my home. I gained my home back.
right. Yeah. What a trip. Different celebrations, different reasons. I mean, California, we were one of the first states to be locked down and quite a bit longer than everybody else, being here with our pretty conservative state nature.
Mhm.
Or I should say very liberal on one side or the other. Um, Being able to be in that spot must have been really interesting because it's like, oh my gosh, everybody else is freaking out. And you're like, I'm in, right? I already committed to
Mhm.
this. Let's go. What did that look like from there?
So for me, I think as living in California, we really had the advantage that we had a lot of outdoor space. We could be outdoor. I could go to the beach. I think having a different experience versus the locked down New York experience where you couldn't go out on the street or you didn't want to use the subway because you were afraid of germs. We just walked around, right? Maybe we crossed the street when other people came. Silly in hindsight, but this is what we did.
Yeah.
But it was very freedom. And freedom always, I think, when the brain experiences freedom, it stays or becomes more creative.
Yeah.
So I remember, so COVID happened, I think, mid-March, 18th of March or something like that, when the country shut down. I got a lot of demand was there for coaching. My previous work experience. Anyway, long story short, overnight, I got 20 clients.
Love it.
Overnight again, all of a sudden I had 40 clients. I'm kind of, oh my God, I can't deal with that because there was
No.
so much demand.
Wow. It's incredible. Right place, the right time with the right
Mm-hmm.
mindset because you had that good break.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you had all these clients. How do you structure all of this? I mean, you're the structure queen at this point to get them all through your system.
So structure was always easy for me, but was harder for me to learn to take care of myself, to put my breaks in, right? Because it's like coaching is a lot of giving, is a lot of taking care of others. So I needed to learn, when do I stop? When do I end? It's how much am I willing to be available and not available? Because it's with coaching, there was so much demand. A lot of people were really suffering. A lot of people were hurting. A lot of people lost a lot of people. And in that experience, I learned a ton, right? Because every time when I coached someone, I coached myself. And every time I coached someone again, I coached myself. So over the years, I coached over 6,000 sessions. And I learned a ton about myself. All the mistakes, what I'm making, I'm just saying sorry to all my previous teams, what I didn't know better at the time. And it was just an amazing, life-changing experience to see the world from different eyes.
Now, this is a lot of work that you've put in. At the same time, this is a lot of work you continue to do, but you're killing it right now. Like, why do you keep showing up? Why do you keep going?
I'm fascinated about our human ability to change. And I think coaching gave me a way to give back what I received from so many mentors. I always say coaching is a mentor, a companion I wish I would have had when I was climbing the corporate ladder, making less mistakes, impacting people less. Because I always know my intent, and this is with all human beings, we really mean well. And still a lot of mistakes happen because our protection mechanism kicks in. And I love the work when I see this epiphany in leaders when they say, oh my God, this is what I'm doing. And that's the old me. And the new me doesn't do this anymore.
Yes. That's incredible. All right. At this point, people are thinking, wait, you do this for companies and you do it for individuals. How do I come find you? Like, what's your favorite way for people to come find you?
So the way you can find me on LinkedIn under Claudia Beck. And you can also find me through my company website, which is bettertogethergroup.co. Um, you can find me. My contact details are on there. I'm happy to connect with you. I mainly work with companies. And of course, when someone wants to work with me, continuing the engagement afterwards, I'm of course available, but I mainly work with companies and creating a more conscious environment because when the leader is in a better space, the entire team is much, much happier.
Yeah, absolutely. Man, this is cool. Well, I only have a couple more questions left.
Huh?
What, like, what's next? What's on the horizon for you?
What's next? So I I told you in the past I was focusing on the one-on-one space. I want to focus more in the future on the team, on the group space. So I'm holding group sessions, spotlight sessions, where creating a learning environment where we can learn from each other, and creating community is really, really important for me.
Yeah, that's incredible. And at this point, because we're going to wrap up, what should we leave everybody with? Like, you have so many good things that you could say probably for another hour, but what should we leave as like your golden wisdom nuggets that we wrap up the show with?
The one nugget. So looking at life, right? So a couple of come to minds. When I look at life, my life didn't go as planned. And that's great. So the invitation, what I'm inviting the listeners to think about, who knows what is good and what is bad? Sometimes we think this was really good. This turns out to be a not so good decision. So think about my move from London to New York. I thought this is a great decision to move there, getting promoted, getting the title I always wanted. It didn't turn out so good. And then I thought, oh my God, I'm leaving the corporate world. It was so bad. It opened doors and learnings for myself I would have never envisioned in my wildest dreams. And the happiness which comes from that is magic.
Right. Man, that's incredible. I am so excited for your journey, where you're going next. Everybody should go and follow Claudia because she puts out content on LinkedIn and more. So go see all the stuff she's doing. And thank you so much for your time, for coming and hanging out with me on my podcast today. And thank you everybody for coming and listening and staying this long so you can hear her story. I recommend you go and follow all of us. If you can't find her, here are the show notes. You can go find us easily, right? And then I look forward to seeing you guys on the next episode. In the meantime, go have a great day.
Thank you so much, Tiffany. Bye bye.